The most teams that could be 2-0 in a 32-team league are 16. 11 this year have reached that milestone, the most ever, tied with 3 other seasons when the NFL had 11 2-0 teams. So what we're going to do in this second hour of this Wednesday edition of PFT Live, we're going to go through the 11 2-0 teams, and we're going to give them a label: contender, pretender. There's still a long way to go. There have been teams that have racked up very good records at the beginning, and they have ultimately fallen apart. So, Christopher, we are going to embark on that process as we embark on this hour of PFT Live, and let's get right to it.
Okay.
Scale of 1 to 10 is what we're going to use to determine pretender or contender. So there's some wiggle room. It's not pass-fail.
Yeah.
There's some curve to this. Let's start with the favorites in the AFC. Let's begin with the team that's at the top of the mountain, the Kansas City Chiefs. They've beaten the Houston Texans at home. They got pushed to the brink against the LA Chargers in week 2. Where do you put them? Pretender to contender scale of 1 to 10.
I mean, the Chiefs, the Ravens, they're 10s for me. I mean, I don't need to see. I know they're.
Start with the Chiefs.
Okay, just the Chiefs. Sorry.
We're gonna milk this cow a little bit.
But the Chiefs, yes. I mean, 10 on the scale, contender. I mean, was last week the way I wanted to look? If you're a Chiefs fan or a fan of high execution on the offensive side of the ball and stuff like that, no, the Chiefs were not at their best. And the Chargers defense, let's not forget, it's really damn good. But I'm still completely confident in this football team. There's no doubt. And like your power rankings, I think they're either the 1 or 2 best teams in football.
Last week is the game that any team but the Chiefs loses. That's the greatness of the Chiefs.
Agreed.
That they were able to come back and win that game.
Right.
When it looked like a lost cause for most of the day. Plenty of other teams just accept it. At some point, you accept it. And that's the beauty of Patrick Mahomes. They've been in that position so many damn times. They thrive on it. They want to show you once again that they can dig out of that hole. And I think that it's having a psychological impact on the opponent now because they're all starting to think, here we go again.
Yeah.
And the Chiefs are ultimately going to take care of us. So, yeah, I think they're a 10 without question. And I think it is going to come down to them and the team they play on Monday night. The next team on the list, the Baltimore Ravens. They have beaten the Cleveland Browns convincingly. They've beaten the Texans convincingly, and I'm convinced they're a 10 as well. Although to the extent, like, there's got to be some separation. Does there have to be separation?
I don't think there does.
9.5?
Right, I don't think so.
How about 9.5 for the Ravens? 9.5.
Okay. I feel like it's every bit right up to par with the Chiefs, though. I mean, I feel like it's right up there. In fact, if I was really going to get picky that way, I'd maybe go with Chiefs 9.8 and then give the Ravens the 10.0 right now, just after 2 weeks. But the Ravens, as we've discussed many times, there's just not a weakness to their football team on paper, on roster, let alone, they're very creative schematically, and then they have some big-time playmakers. I mean, that's just the big thing. Okay, Lamar, hey, the running game this week, and then it's Marcus Peters making a pick this week. Last week it was Calais Campbell getting them jump-started. It's just, we talk about some teams where we go, who's going to make that play to get them going? We had that conversation about the Saints, and right? Like the Ravens, you don't ever have a question about the Ravens or the Chiefs. We know they got somebody on both sides of the ball where you go, big moment, guarantee one of those big players show up.
Yeah, I agree with you. And you know what? I'll make the Ravens a 10. If the scale is 1 is a definite pretender and 2 is a definite contender, they are both definite contenders through 2 weeks, and they will continue to be contenders regardless of what happens on Monday night, win or lose. Key players have to stay healthy, though. I mean, that's the key. Lamar Jackson or Patrick Mahomes go down,
right,
and that changes everything. I don't want to jinx anyone by saying that, but
we
need to have your quarterback,
yeah,
obviously, or there aren't many teams out there where you're going to say take out the starting quarterback and everything is going to be fine. AFC dark horses so far: the Las Vegas Raiders at 2-0 and the Steelers at 2-0. I expected the Steelers to be 2-0. I didn't expect the game against the Giants to be as close as it was. The 10-point margin of victory did not reveal how close it really was. And then with the Broncos, it was a 5-point victory. The Raiders pulling off that win against the Saints on Monday night makes me wonder about them. Let's start with them. Where would you put the Raiders on that scale of 1 to 10, pretender to contender?
I'm more, I feel I'm going to say a 5 right now, really, right around that area. There's still one big question is the defense. I think that still worries me. And then, that goes into the conversation again. Young, it's not like a scheme that I look at and go, oh, wow, it's so awesome and creative. And then 2, there's just not difference makers on that side of the ball for them either. So, I worry about that aspect. And just like we saw a little again on Monday night, Derek Carr was awesome. But we know there was a few plays early on where you go, ooh, there was more there to be had. You got to strike there. Again, they've been fine through 2 weeks on the offensive side of the ball, but I just feel like there's going to be that week where teams are going to take away the quick throws to the back and the quick throws to Waller, and you're going to have to go downfield, and I just haven't seen that yet either, let alone my concerns with the defense. That's why I'm going to go 5.
And again, we don't know how good or bad any of these opponents really will end up being. And with the Saints, the jury's out now on where they are. How much of what happened Monday night was the Saints? How much of it was the Raiders? I agree with you. The Raiders are firmly at a 5, and it's going to break one way or the other based upon what they do going forward. And Raiders fans, if you want your team to get the respect that you are insisting upon in the aftermath of the win over the Saints, go to New England this weekend and beat the Patriots, and the respect definitely will come. With the Pittsburgh Steelers, they were viewed as a serious contender going into the season. They were viewed as one of the biggest threats to the Ravens in the AFC North. Where do you have them based upon what you've seen through 2 weeks on that scale of 1 to 10?
I might 7 or 8-ish. I guess really I probably feel I feel like I'm seeing 7-ish, but I'm gonna say 8 because it's the Steelers, and the part that I'm worried about is just like, okay, Big Ben's not at his best yet. That offense isn't clicking all the way. They had a few stale moments in the Giants game, had a few stale moments last week against the Denver Broncos. So, from what I've seen, I want to say it's a 7, but I have faith in people like Big Ben and Pittsburgh that they'll get this together, and the young receivers, and it's new year, and Big Ben didn't play in a year. So I guess I look at it like that. And then I guess the defense has been, again, that, a little underwhelming. It's still awesome, but I guess there was chances I would have expected the Steelers to just slam the door last week against the Denver Broncos, and they let them kind of hang around. So I'm going to go 8 because it's the Steelers, and I think the defense is still legit, and I just think Big Ben's going to continue to get better and better.
I'm going to stay 7 because I don't think either win this year has been the kind of win we thought we were going to get from the Steelers. Yeah. Wins are wins. It's money in the bank. They have the opportunity to improve, as every team does. They're going to need to improve. The defense is awesome. The offense is a work in progress. Right now, 7. It can skew 8, 9, 10, but it also can go the other way if the offense doesn't get better quickly. Between the two, Raiders and Steelers, which one's a bigger threat to topple the Chiefs or the Ravens, respectively?
To me, the Steelers. That Steelers, they have the type of talent and scheme to where, like, I wouldn't be shocked if they were one of the first teams that, like, stymie the Baltimore Ravens offense and something like that. And even in a game, like, if they couldn't stymie the Chiefs or something like that, I think we're starting to see, I worry about their running game, but I think we're with Claypool, a big play last week, Deontay Johnson showed up again. You're starting to see, like, all right, they might have some talent at receiver. In a few weeks' time, we might be able to say, like, well, Pittsburgh, if they got in a shootout with Kansas City, they'll be okay. I feel like it's going to trend that way, but I'm like you. I don't know yet. I'd like to see a little bit more.
From the Department of Obscure Facts, Chase Claypool's 84-yard touchdown catch and run on Sunday, the longest touchdown play for a Canadian-born player in NFL history.
Yeah,
so
he
has
beast.
That going for him, which is nice. AFC South, Titans, the only 2-0 team. They've beaten the Broncos. They've beaten the Jaguars. Both games were razor-thin margins, 2 points over the Broncos, 3 points over the Jaguars. Where do you put the Titans on this scale?
I know. The Titans are one of those teams. Yeah, they're 2-0. They were in the AFC Championship game last year. I know they're in the top 10 of your power rankings, but I don't know how to feel about them through 2 weeks. I don't. I like the way they look on the field, but I don't necessarily like the way they're performing on the field. So I'm going to say like a 6 right now. They could easily be 0-2. There's no doubt about it. I mean, they could be 0-2. So that's where it's hard to just sit there and go, oh, I'm going to give them an 8, 9, or 10. No. The defense still lets up way too many big plays. I mean, for Jacksonville to move the ball the way they did, Denver was so close to making a ton of big plays. Jerry Jeudy dropped a bunch of big passes in that game. So that's where I worry about them a little bit right now, is I just Yeah, I'm not sure about that defense and who's going to be the guy that can shut things down or what unit is special for that defense right now.
Elite teams don't just barely beat bad teams. They beat the crap out of bad teams. That's what gives me concern.
Yes,
and it
right.
could just be that the Titans are going to play up and down to the level of the competition. Will they screw around with the Vikings this weekend instead of stick it to them the way that they're capable of doing? And then there's that battle coming with the Steelers that maybe that's when they rise up. But for a team that notoriously starts slowly, to get 2 wins out of the gates is good news.
Yeah, that's right.
Because they've lost too many of these early season games in recent years, but they are really the quietest of the 2-0 teams, and this fits the profile. At some point in the past few years, the Titans became a team that is largely irrelevant, and even getting to the AFC Championship game last year didn't change that vibe.
No.
And they still look good. And to me, did you pick a number for them? I
said 6.
I put them at 7 as well, because, look, they should have beaten the Broncos by a lot more than a couple of points. Missed field goals doomed them there. I've yet to go back and rewatch the Jaguars-Titans game. I'm going to do that today.
Yeah,
and
the concerning thing was
how that one feels.
Right. I know, and I don't have a great feel of it either. I need to go back and watch it too. But just the fact, 2 long drives at the end of the game. I mean, Jaguars had like the ball where we need to score a touchdown, and they went down the field, bing, bang, boom, 7, 8, 9 play drives, two or three times there where you just went, damn, like that was easy. Minshew looked like he was just carving them up, and I think that's what scares me a little bit about Tennessee.
All right, the Buffalo Bills at 2-0 in the AFC East with a 1-game lead over the New England Patriots. They'll see the Patriots twice eventually. For now, they've got the Rams coming up, who also are 2-0. Where do you put the Bills on the 1-10 list?
I'm giving them a 9er. Captain.
I'm stunned.
That's right.
I'm stunned by that.
Well, I'll say this. The only reason they're not getting a 10er, okay, is because Josh Allen, that's the reason. Now, they're at 9 because of Josh Allen, but the reason they're not at 10 is because of Josh Allen. Yeah, I mean, we see a little splash here and there of crazy Josh Allen. Last week, I mean, he runs over a safety, and then he runs over a D lineman. I mean, runs them over. Like, you're like, what? Am I watching Walter Payton or a quarterback here? And then he's still fighting and fumbles the ball. Now, luckily they recovered, but you just go, damn, Josh Allen, just go down. It wasn't worth it. But yet, the plays he makes are astounding. I mean, he's one of the best playmakers in the game right now, and their offense is dangerous as hell. They can run the ball. They trust him. And then Diggs, Beasley, John Brown, McKenzie. I mean, they got speed at receiver to where it's going to be tough for anybody to match up with them. The kid they got a tight end, Dawson Knox, he had 2 big drops last week. One was a fumble. He's a hell of a player. So, yeah, and then we know their defense is good. That's why I go 9. I mean, the only reason they're not as 10 is just that little trust tree factor with Josh Allen.
The Josh Allen performance for the first 2 weeks of the season, it put him in a category, and this is an obscure statistical thing, but Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, and Peyton Manning are the only others to have more than 700 passing yards, 6 or more touchdowns, and no interceptions in the first 2 games of a season. So that is pretty good company to be in. Mahomes, Brady, and Manning. Josh Allen has been playing really well. I made the observation earlier this week that the Bills have been looking for Jim Kelly and for Thurman Thomas, and they found both guys in the same person. He needs to, at some point, hit the deck. The way he gets banged around, and I understand, and this is the difference between him and Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray is obsessed with the reality that you need to live another play. Josh Allen gets overcome by competitiveness.
Yes.
And at some point, that's going to get him in trouble. It's the Carson Wentz mentality.
No doubt.
And it's fine until it's not fine.
Right, that's right. It is. It's the scariest thing, and that's my boy Blue, and I just, get the hell down. And that's the problem. He's been a big physical beast his whole life. So high school, run people over. College, college, they were so bad. I mean, it was almost, a bad thing for him that they were that bad because they basically just were like, go do whatever you got to do. We stink, so you have the free reign to throw the ball into quadruple coverage and run around like a chicken without his head cut off or with his head cut off and do whatever. And that really set him back as far as being an NFL quarterback. But, his school had no choice. He was so far the best player that they had to let him just be raw and go. And it kind of hurt his development there. But Hopefully he can rein it in. We're seeing him rein it in just about everything. And even in that area, it's been reined in. It's just still not where you and I would like it to be.
I've got a theory, and I don't know, it's more of a hypothesis. Guys like Carson Wentz, who played at North Dakota State, Josh Allen at Wyoming, I feel like they have an extra chip on their shoulder to prove they belong, so they're more willing to go out there and embrace those hits to show these guys from the SEC schools and the Big Ten schools that they're every bit as good and tough and strong and willing to go out there and play hard as they are. In that complicated stew of human emotions and motivations, I can't help but wonder whether that's in there somewhere.
I don't think it's crazy thought, Mike. I do. I think those guys probably are, got a permanent chip on their shoulder. They're going like, how the hell did I end up at that school and did not Ohio State or Notre Dame or anybody want me? I mean, they're probably permanently pissed off by that stuff.
Are you calling the Bills at this point definitely the division favorite, or the jury's still out because the Patriots are better than you thought they would be?
Yeah, the Patriots are better than I thought they would be. So I'm not going to say it. I'm giving them the edge, and I probably would have put the Bills ahead of the Patriots by one rank in your power rankings if I had a say in or anything like that. But it's very close, and I've liked what I've seen with the Patriots.
How will their defense hold up against Cam Newton during their inevitable 2 games against him?
Yeah, that'll be interesting. I mean, McDermott is, again, one of those guys where he'll go outside the book or outside the normal realm of thought to where he's going to bring a few creative angles to a defensive approach to stop some of those tricks and do things like that. Did a pretty good job last year containing Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens when they came to town. Really, Lamar made some big throws that ended up winning that game for them and things like that. So that will be the ultimate chess match, and they match up good with that New England offense. I don't know how that'll play out.
Week 8, the day after Halloween, and then Week 16, 3 days after Christmas. Those are the 2 times the Bills and the Patriots
might
get
be for
together
the division after Christmas
this year. Exactly. Let's go to the NFC North because there are no unbeaten teams in the NFC East. The Green Bay Packers, 1 to 10. You're going to give them an 11, I assume.
No, I'm not. I'm not going to give them 11. I'm going to give them a 9.
Wow.
But I don't know why I'm giving them a 9, actually, as I'm sitting here. You're right. I'm going to give them a 10. I am. The one.
If we keep talking, it may go to 11.
I might go to 11. Well, hey, that old saying, if you're staying the same, you're getting worse? Well, Green Bay's just crapped on that theory. I mean, they crapped all over it. They said, no, we stayed the same and we got better. They're better. I don't know any other way to say it. Offense is better. They're doing more in the run game, so there's more wrinkles to that. And then Rodgers is playing insane. I love that he went 18 for 30 last week. You know why he went 18 for 30 and his completion percent's not at 75%? Oh, my gosh, what are we going to do? Because they're more dangerous when he's 18 to 30. Because when he's throwing incompletions like that, that means they're taking chances down the field, and he's letting go that rocket right arm, and that's when they're at their best. So, and their defense, other than those first 2 drives last week, have been very impressive the whole year. So, I'm going Packers 10. I am.
There is a chance that they just happen to catch the 2 worst teams they're going to see all year.
There is.
We don't know how bad the Vikings are going to be. We don't know where the bottom is. I was looking at the Vikings schedule. 0-5 is a
doable.
very real possibility.
Yeah.
Very real possibility for the Vikings. And it may come down to the Falcons Week 6 to avoid going into the bye week 0-6. So it is possible that it's been a little smoke and mirrors. And, I'm going to give them a 9 reluctantly because they created this vibe they were consciously taking a step back. I mean, if you're that damn close, if you really are that close, and if you're going to be that much better in the second year of the Matt LaFleur offense, why in the bleep are you not using that first-round pick on an area of need?
It is.
Why
I know.
do you give up your 4th-round pick, which you used to trade up when you combine it with your first-round pick, to get a quarterback that isn't going to play if you continue to have faith in Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah.
That makes no sense to me. This is your opportunity to go all in and to get the guy that's going to help you get over the top. And that's what frustrates me about this. If they knew they were going to be this good, why in the double bleep did they not take a receiver in that spot?
I don't know. Or, or just address it in a free agency, a trade, whatever it may be. But yeah, I had somebody yesterday say to me, well, didn't this kind of prove that the Packers knew what they were doing? And I would go, no. In fact, it's actually the opposite to me. It just shows me, like, did they misevaluate their team and think they were farther off and that they just went to hell with this year? You know, yeah, we're good and we'll hang in there, but we need to build for 3 years down the road. I mean, because you're right. If you think you're that good and like, you know, hopefully LaFleur's going, no, you don't understand. Our offense is going to get better. They haven't even got into the, you know, the advanced part of it yet. So all those things and everything into it. Yeah, that to me, so what we've seen so far is just go, I know it's been good, but how good could it have been if we got that one extra player maybe on each side of the ball just to give a little more juice? That could be scary. And nonetheless, it's been good so far, so it's hard to complain about what they have at receiver and things like that. But they still got drops and things like that too, where you just go, it's not clean, but it's a lot better than what we've seen the last few years.
They got the crap kicked out of them twice last year by the 49ers. They freaked out. They thought they had to retreat to the laboratory and come up with some different approach if they were ever going to contend with the 49ers. And here are the 49ers falling apart, and it's the last team the Packers currently have to worry about. They should be worried about the Bears. The Bears are 2-0 in unlikely fashion. I have a feeling this is going to be the lowest of the 1 to 10 scores that you give out today. What do you have?
Well, I feel like, yeah, I don't know. They're kind of in that Raiders territory, but like vice versa to me, where I'm going to go a 6 with the Bears. I'll give them, yeah, I'm going to give them a 6, I think, just because I still have faith in that defense. I do. I think that defense is still going to keep them in a lot of football games to where the offense, as we saw last year, they were 8-8 with one of the worst offenses in football. I mean, it stunk. If they just have a middle-of-the-road offense, you know, I just think they're one of those teams that, yeah, they're going to be dancing around that 9-7, maybe 10-6 type record this year. So right now, yeah, maybe I'm a little more bullish on the Bears, but I'm going to go 6. I am.
Yeah, I look, we're doing a bad job of grading on a curve here. Nobody's been below 5. The Bears have to be below 5. I'm going to say 4 for the Bears, which they probably should be 1. If there's going to be a 10, there's got to be – they can't – maybe they all could be contenders. I don't know. But the Bears are a 4 for me. They still have to prove that they can do it consistently and not pull the rabbit out of the hat like they did against the Lions, barely hold on against the Giants. It came down to one play, one shot at the goal line. I want to see something a little more compelling and a little more sustained and consistent than that before I buy into the Bears, especially since they still have to play the Packers twice.
Maybe I am a little
NFC West.
High on them. Go ahead.
You want to change it? I'll give you a chance.
Okay, I'll go 5. I think 5 is probably where I want to be. I don't want to go to 4 area, but I like 5. Okay.
The NFC West has 3 of the 2-0 teams, the Seahawks, the Rams, and the Cardinals, with the 49ers in the basement at 1-1. Let's start with the Seahawks. 1 to 10. What do you got?
Well, that's a 10. I mean, we know that. I mean, they're. I mean, if we're talking about contenders and yeah, what?
Who's more of a contender, Packers or Seahawks?
Woo, man. I guess I'm gonna go Seahawks right now, but it is by a slim margin. I mean, slim. It really is. But the Seahawks, I just think with the way Russell Wilson's playing, Pete Carroll, Jamal Adams and what he does to the defense. I mean, Jamal Adams, Quandre Diggs, and Quentin Dunbar really changed their defense. And those were big-time moves made by Pete Carroll and John Schneider. I got to give them credit. It really has. It's allowed them to do more things on the defensive side of the ball, which excites me too. Not that I think it's going to be a top 5 defense, but I think it's going to be a top 5 pain in your butt, top 5 we can make plays and cause chaos every week type defense where they might give up yards and big plays, but that's fine because we want to let Russ cook, just like we talked about with Kansas City last year. You don't want to be doing slow death defense in Seattle. You get your guy back out there, let him start throwing the ball. Either you cause a turnover or you let up a big play and you get Russell back out and get the offense going because that's the best part of your football team.
5-0 at the bye is very possible for the Seattle Seahawks. Cowboys at the Dolphins, home game against the Vikings. That's a Sunday night game. And then that's going to be an ugly Sunday night game. Can we flex out of a Week 5 Sunday night game? And then after their bye week, it's a showdown with the Arizona Cardinals. Woo! They both will be undefeated going into that game. So favorable schedule coming up for Seattle, and I put them firmly at a 10. I think they're right now, they're in my mind the Super Bowl favorite in the NFC, and you picked them to win the Super Bowl before the season, so you have to think they're the best contender in the NFC.
I do. I didn't pick them to win. I think I had them losing to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, but yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
You picked the Chiefs to repeat.
I can't go against the Mahomes and all that, but I mean, yeah, and you're freaking Vikings messing up our Sunday Night Football schedule. I mean, geez, unbelievable.
This will be the year that they go out there and win.
No, it won't.
This will be the year when they go out there and win. It'll still be a great game. It's still Russell Wilson in primetime. Doesn't matter who they're playing.
Right.
They could play a high school team, and Russell Wilson in primetime is worth the price of admission. And the Vikings, I'm not ready to look. The Vikings have always gone out there and had to deal with that crowd. Going out there and not having to deal with that crowd could change things. That's the fly in the ointment, because it seems like the Vikings get a short straw to play there in primetime every year. This is the year to play the Seahawks in primetime at home. So
you keep telling yourself that. Okay.
I'm going to hold on to a shred of hope. I think it's going to be a better game than you think. Maybe I'll even pick the Vikings to win the game that night on Football Night in America. All right, the LA Rams 1-10. What do you got?
Well, I guess I'm going to go 8-ish. I want to go 8. I'm going to go 8. I am. I just think between McVay, the offensive line being better, and their ability to run the football, Goff has looked really good. And not that he's asked to do a whole lot, but, of course, he runs that offense at a pace and gets them in and out of the right plays. And then when he's had to make some big throws in the last 2 weeks, he's made them. So the offense has been really encouraging. The defense, it doesn't blow your doors off, but they got a few playmakers and they don't mess up. That is the one thing I've noticed for 2 weeks. They're not doing a lot of creative stuff, things like that on the defensive side of the ball, but they mix it up and they're sound, and there's something to that. And they're a battle-tested, proven winning type football team. So, yeah, I mean, I guess 7 or 8 right there in that category, 7.5 if I had to give the Rams. But I think they are going to be a playoff team, as you know, as I picked them before the year.
I'm more than willing to admit that I'm wrong, in part because I'm so used to doing it. The Rams are much better than I thought they were going to be. I'll put them at an 8, and I think they're going to get better and better as they get more and more comfortable with this new group of coaches, personnel, etc., as they continue to move forward. All right, the Arizona Cardinals, scale of 1 to 10. Where do you put them?
I'm at a 6, I think, with them. I still am not a believer in their defense at this point. The Washington offense is certainly nothing I'm going to sit there and go, well, they stopped Washington. They're proven. San Francisco made a lot of big plays, really screwed that game up in a lot of ways. So I just don't know what their defense. Their offense, we know what it is. I mean, it's Kyler Murray, it's shotgun, it's stress you out that way, quick throws, him moving, and then the occasional deep throw down the field and everything like that. But I don't know. I guess I'm just not quite sure about how good they are yet. I mean, I think they're going to be a pain in the butt, fly in the ointment, always around the playoff conversation. Am I willing to sit here right now and just go, they're definitely in the playoffs? No, by no stretch of the imagination yet. I'd like to evaluate them a little longer.
Yeah, look, in any other division, I would give them a 7 or an 8. I agree with you. They're at a 6, in part because they have to deal with the Seahawks twice and the Rams twice, and they have to play the 49ers again. And I am holding out hope for the possibility of all 4 teams from the NFC West making it to the playoffs this year, just because I always like a little chaos, a little healthy chaos. That's a little healthy chaos. They add a playoff team, and so all the wild cards come from the same division. And the fact that they play all the teams of the NFC East and the AFC East makes it a little bit easier this year for the teams of the NFC West to pull it off. Who stays undefeated the longest out of those 3? Seahawks, Rams, and Cardinals.
I wish I Seahawks, Rams, and Cardinals. It's hard for me not to. I'd like to pull up the schedules and really go through it there, but it's hard for me not to pick the Seahawks right now. I mean, just the way they're playing and the playmakers they got, and Russell Wilson's confidence and his arm right now and what he's seeing on the field. Yeah, just my first thought would be the Seahawks.
And the Rams have to go play your boy Blue this weekend in Buffalo. I assume the Rams went home. Philadelphia back to L.A., back to Buffalo, the opposite of what the 49ers have done, hunkering down here in West Virginia for the week. But that's a lot of air miles. That's a lot of travel time for the Rams. Home from Philly and back to Buffalo, if that's what they're indeed
what
doing.
would you
that
rather
make
do?
It harder for them.
Yeah, I mean, you'd rather stay?
I talked to Kyle about it last year.
Yeah.
After the
Tampa,
second
Cincinnati.
win of it was right after the Cincinnati game.
Right.
He said that they've done it both ways, and that on that second game, the morning of that second game, especially because it's usually a 10 o'clock local time game, Pacific time,
Right.
the guys are just dead. No matter what they do, they are dead. They were bouncing off the walls the day that they were getting ready to play the Bengals. Because think about it, they've been away from home all week. They're excited to go home. There's an extra little energy, and they beat the crap out of the
time
Bengals.
change.
So it works. It works. And last year they did it twice, and they won the back end both times. They beat the Saints on the back end of staying away from home for a week, and they beat the Bengals on the back end earlier in the year. So I think it makes sense. I think the Rams may find out the hard way when they go play the Bills that they wish they had stuck around New York somewhere for the week instead of going back and forth and back and forth.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.